static. Just static. All day. No soaps, no sitcoms, not even a goddamn infomercial for spray-on hair. This is no way for an old man to live out his golden years. I heard you gave respite to some of our restless spirits. Did you bring me their dreams? Their dreams are tainted, tormented. Our ancestors are being fed lies and denied rest. They are led astray, brought into our world to fight for the very thing they swore to oppose, and they don't know it. The serpent that sleeps and dreams beneath the mountain is waking up. This is much, much worse than I feared. We must go to them. To the afterlife. The filth has infected their land, and though we can free those of our ancestors who have crossed over into our world, it will not end before the filth is removed from theirs. There is a dangerous ritual that can guide the living into the world of the dead. It requires preparation and courage, and those who make the journey are not certain to return. But it is the only way to stop this cycle before it is too late. Well, what are you waiting for? We're none of us getting any younger. Hello there. Everything is ready. We can begin. I'm afraid you're going to have to inhale. Good. You're ready. Don't look at me. I don't know what's supposed to happen. Did you think you'd be whisked away to the afterlife through the magic of smoke? You've read too many comic books. Time runs short. Go. Find what you need to fight this evil, to free our ancestors, and to protect our dreams from the filth. I'll keep an eye on the TV. I'm sure there'll be something good on, sooner or later.
These things just don't stop coming.
Everyone needs a break from the killing. There's no sports in it. And there's no end to it. We had a good little business going here, me and Paul. We were doing all right. But I guess when you bleed the land eventually bleeds you back.
Over.
That wave tin is some bullshit. It started a couple years back. Whitetail season had taken a dip. Hard to make ends meet. Then I picked up the trail of something else out there. Stranger game. Older game.
It came like some weird providence.
All the old stories come to life. It didn't cross my mind anyone would pay to bag themselves a Wendigo or Sasquatch, but I'm not the brains of this outfit. Turns out a lot of folks would, when you ask in the right places. Folks from out of state.
Business is a bit slow, so if you're staying around, it's open season on whatever's got no right to walk or crawl here.
Yeah, just don't get bit by anything. I hate to have to put you down. You got a quarter, Annie?
My turn, isn't it?
Friend, I haven't got time to be shook up. Not when my wife and I are the only ones in the park who can shoot a can off a fence at 10 foot. I'm not even kidding. We held tryouts. Sure thing this is wicked strange, but it's just a real bad day in our new normality. A different kind of survivalism. Back in the day, I said to old Joe, I think I've seen something from the stories out there. He says, yup. I tell him, I thought they were just stories. And he gives me one of those looks from over his glasses. If I told you a story about land across the ocean from the island, would you believe that? I say, sure I would, I've seen it. Oh, he likes that, gets his big old grin on. He says, well, Paul, now you've seen the Wendigo, too. Well, we never really had any trouble with your type on the hunts. Maybe some get a little too keen about waving their fancy swords around instead of a good rifle. I'd tell them, these creatures can take a high-caliber bullet on the skull like you'd slugged a rock at them. So are you positive you want to get up close? There was one guy, though, wanted to blood himself from a Wendigo. That's what he said, and I looked at Annika thinking, this is not gonna fly. She told him, no way, no how. Maybe he didn't know the legends like we did, but you don't want to be getting Wendigo in you. He kicked off over that, so we wheeled the truck around, took him back to the airport so fast he hardly had time to pack his little photocopied pamphlets. Like you see on television, what are they called, the morning light? Guess those Moonies are soft in the head after all. I'm not much of a deep thinker. Working in the outdoors, it pays to be more concerned with what's happening than the why. But when the world went all to hell, sure I had to do some considering. Perhaps the reason we ran across those beasts when we did was a sign. It seems animals are the first to know when there's a big change coming. And perhaps I should have known it then. I just sensed it. Like at the end of fall when you know a hard freeze is coming on overnight. And there's always been stories. Not just old Joe's, the townies bring their own too. And there's a Kingsmouth explanation for all the good and bad in the world. Mostly the bad. Hell, I've told college kids a horror story or two about the old trapper cabin to keep them out of it. When the fog rolls back, what if this is the way the world's gonna be from now on?
When we just did adventure tours, I got a lot of bright-eyed questions about spirits, ancestors, feeling the power of the earth and such. I'm Wabanaki Confederacy. I must be into that stuff, right? I never thought of it as a mystical thing, a tribal thing, to treat the land with respect. We learned from our elders. You can't find much older out here than the land. That's the starry-eyed version. The one down here in the grit is that the land will kill you and keep on going like a logging truck. So you respect it and try to find peace with that idea. Understand that it's so much bigger than all of us and has its own big plan. Yes, this world has slipped out of balance. And yes, we have words for that with a whole bunch of vowel sounds. But you and I have been walking on a giant all these years. It just shrugged its shoulders. Before the storm, Paul and I were talking expansion. I'd talk, he'd agree. On the mainland, maybe up in the Appalachians. Been tracking sightings of unidentified creatures there since we got started. You cross off half of them as overactive imagination, and we're still talking dozens. We could move up from 1 hunt a month to 2 a week. Damn, but those New Yorkers can't get enough trophies. Decorating their boardrooms or something. Sightings were on the up and up here too. Not just the Sasquatch and the Wendigo. There's something out there. Different to the rest. I hear its call some nights. It's a wrong sound. Not an animal call, but something that's making a noise like it thinks an animal should. Doesn't even carry on the air right. If it's marking out its territory, that's the best of a bad situation. It means it's not coming down here. If there's still a tribe here, I'd call it a dysfunctional one. I mostly keep out of Wabanaki business. They can't get along with each other, let alone cope in the real world. And half the townies still lock up their mouthwash when they see one of us coming. Then there's the matter of our sacred land. Sometimes they can't trip over themselves fast enough to sell it off by the yard. Others, they dig in their heels even when psychoil suits are here sweating money. Me, I think they like the fantasy that there's good soil to protect and sour soil to make the evil eye at. It doesn't work that way. People gave Blue Ridge a bad name, not ancient curses. No one disturbed the burial grounds, and yet there they are, up and walking anyway. It can take days for these boys to agree on the communal food order. If they were the defenders of this island, I'd feel bad for the island.